There's something big happening in Davos, guys. And in what seems to be a warning, they're saying that we have 100 days to outrace this next pandemic. The thought of facing another global shutdown makes me just a little bit anxious already. But when you see what they mean, then you will really feel the shivers. It's also worth noting that controlling us would be an understatement at this point, and that the vaccines from the previous pandemic may have been just the beginning of their plans. Also, more data suggests that we're not receiving the correct numbers when it comes to what's happening in the country. Shocker, huh? I'm not sure when people are going to wake up, but once people realize that these things are not matching what we see in Walmart, what we buy in Target, what kind of jobs are available to us, how many households are forced to spend with credit cards, and just how little the Social Security for 2023 was, there's no choice but to wake up. But let me ask you guys, do you believe that the powers that be have been completely truthful with us, or have they been driving this narrative of hope when everything's been falling apart? Now, before I continue, please take a second, drop a like for the video. I really appreciate that. Probably one of the only ones that keeps getting censored when I try to push the truth, so a thumbs up for the video definitely goes a long way. And if you want your daily dose of the truth, and believe me, we all need it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I appreciate that. Also, if you own a home, make sure your home is protected. Get your free home warranty quote. The link is in the description down below this video. Just how bad are things right now? I think that's a fair question to ask, given that it's, getting much harder to afford everything. I mean, we can go back 2 or 3 years ago. Our cash flow isn't doing so great, and inflation, well, inflation's still a thorn in my butt. It may continue to be like this for a few more years, and that's an optimistic point of view, which is why it bothers me to see stuff like this. US layoffs are supposedly not matching initial jobless claims, and this is concerning because it would make it seem as if we're being given manipulated numbers. Now, some might say, well, why would they ever do that? I don't know. So it's easier to say that things are getting better? According to this write-up, quote, one day we get a contraction in the PMI employment, both manufacturing and services. The other, we get a major beat in employment. Then, one day, the household survey shows a major plunge in employment. In fact, there has also been no employment gain in the past 9 months and a record in multiple job holders and part-time workers. And the same day, the establishment survey signals a spike in payrolls, mostly among waiters and bartenders. Or the day the JOLTS report shows an unexpected jump in job openings, even as actual hiring slides to a 2-year low, end quote. Now, you can believe whatever you want, that's on you. But here's a cold, hard fact. Companies like Meta, Goldman Sachs, Twitter, CNN, Carvana, all of these different companies and different industries and markets, they're all letting people go. And Amazon has now started the process of cutting off 18,000 of its workers.
Amazon will expand its planned job cuts to 18,000 workers, the biggest layoffs in its history. Now, CEO Andy Jassy said the move would impact Amazon stores and the group's people experience and tech solutions divisions. Now, for many employees, the next few weeks will be excruciating as they won't find out if they've been laid off until January 18th. So, a lot of people were shocked that this was perhaps an even greater set of layoffs than expected. We know that a lot of tech companies have been having layoffs, overhired too much during the pandemic without really sort of thinking what the long-term vision would be, but much more than expected here.
Just how good is the market when we see layoffs like this on a daily? But okay, you guys let me know. Are things actually starting to turn around? And do we have great paying jobs just waiting for us in the labor market? You be the judge. I always like leaving this decision to you guys because you're not a bot, you're actual people. You're people who can make your own decisions. But with the recent findings that I've had with Davos 2023 and the World Economic Forum, I'm starting to think that having a choice may soon be a privilege instead of a right. Now, before we get to the good parts, I checked the WEF website and found this out. These guys are billionaires, but their site has an option for you to pay. How insane is it to think that billionaires who want to control the world will charge us for it? But wait, maybe I'm going about this the wrong way. Let me just go ahead and say my bad in advance. But what if they actually want what's best for the entire world? They called it the World Economic Forum, right? Let's check out their agenda and decide from there, shall we? So it starts with the phrase, cooperation in a fragmented world. That sounds pretty poetic, doesn't it? States that the C-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine rattled an already brittle global system. Wait, weren't things far better before both of those events? How brittle was the global economy before those events? And why does it seem like these were natural occurrences instead of mostly man-made dilemmas? And by the way, don't get me started on the people attending, because these are the same leaders who listened to the mandates, who kept us locked in our homes and as we continued to see more data even took millions of lives away from us. All right, sorry about that. This entire program is not really starting out too well for me. It could just be the way that it was worded, but let's look at these programs. So this one's called The Clear and Present Danger of Disinformation. Now, that's more like it. We need to get the truth out to the people. I wholeheartedly agree with them on that, misinformation is dangerous to society. Who's on this panel, by the way? Here we go. It's Congressman Seth Moulton from Massachusetts. They all support Chairman and publisher Arthur Gregg Schultzberger from the New York Times. I wonder if they're going to give examples of the many ways and manipulations that were done to the American public, mostly by misinformation. That's most probably the reason why they're on this panel, right? Right? Here's another one. And man, I went into this with a clean slate, and I gotta say, I'm much more worried about the future now than when I started. If you wanted even more fuel for our fears, one of the programs has been named 100 Days to Outrace the Next Pandemic. I can't make this stuff up, guys. Like, seriously? Are they for real with this one? And look who's on the panel. Albert Bourla, CEO of Pfizer. Can somebody please connect the dots for me in the comments? I wonder if they have a new vaccine just waiting for us in 100 days. Oh wait, that's the entire point of this segment, that they can create, I'm gonna go hard on the quotations here, so safe and effective vaccines in the next 100 days. They wanna make vaccines for future pandemics, and they wanna make them even faster. Sure, what's the worst that could happen? There's also one called Ready for Brain Transparency. It's a shocker that Elon Musk isn't here, but he's excited about this for sure. Whenever I read about neurotechnology, I pretty much imagined getting ads in our dreams. Your dream will continue after a word from our sponsor. How would you like to buy a Tesla? You wake up and then you realize that you accidentally bought a car in your dreams. That would be a riot. But at the same time, it would also be a nightmare. Can you imagine the car payment on that sucker? No thought process of ours would be private, ever. Imagine the government can just read your thoughts. For anyone who says that I'm exaggerating, they literally describe it as the promise of neurotechnology to improve our lives and gain insight into the human brain. Take that for what it's worth. It's kind of funny how they follow this up with how they can uphold data privacy and personal freedom. The irony is amazing. But if that doesn't work out and they can't track our thoughts, at least they can track where we go. They're pushing for battery passports. It's a real-time monitoring service that sits on your electric vehicle. Does that entice you or convince you to go out and get a brand new EV yet? It makes me start to realize that Klaus Schwab of the WEF looks more like a Bond villain from those old Sean Connery movies. Bond, James Bond. But what do you guys make of this? I also don't feel at ease seeing so many politicians going to Davos, hanging out with the WEF. But that's the reality of this entire event. Something does relax me, and it's the thought of being financially secure. Now, when I tell you that there are countless opportunities out there, I'm not kidding, guys. But to be able to get these opportunities, you need to take a leap. Luckily for you, I'm willing to take it with you. Now, if you want to learn more about budgeting, creating multiple streams of income through side hustles, and creating small businesses, maybe even investing in real estate, the stock market, feel free to join us over in the Patreon community. There is a link in the description down below. But before I go, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up for the video. Help this video get out to more people. There's a lot of information that people in our community need to hear about. Also, definitely subscribe for your daily dose of the truth. Appreciate you watching. I'll see you on the next one.